yesterday. This was yesterday. Marc Marquez, for the very first time, coming to the factory Ducati garage. Just a little bit of behind-the-scenes news on the 31-year-old Spaniard. He has not been able to bring his Gresini Ducati crew chief Franco Carcelli with him in 2025. Those two forming an instant bond, an instant close relationship. That's part of the reason why Marquez was so competitive.
To be lending his wisdom to the cause as well. Yamaha are not short of resources and experience as they look to make their way back towards the front next year.
Marc Marquez then venturing into the factory Ducati garage. No entry, authorised personnel only. There'll be a few interesting observers inside the factory Ducati garage today. Gigi Dall'Igna, pretty much himself, hand-picked Marc Marquez. He made that very tough call, didn't he, at the Italian Grand Prix in Mugello. An Italian Grand Prix in Mugello, which all of us were convinced the Italian media ran with a big story. Jorge Martin had won the race to be Pecco Bagnaia's teammate in 2025 and 2026. Martin himself seemed absolutely convinced. And then, of course, Dall'Igna and Ducati decided that it was the 8 times world champion Marc Marquez who they wanted as part of that project. That's, of course, on the very same weekend pushed Jorge Martin into the arms of the factory Aprilia squad. Side by side then, arguably one of the best engineers we've ever seen in Grand Prix motorcycle racing, with one of the best riders we have ever seen in Grand Prix motorcycle racing. Marc Marquez just waiting to venture out on circuit.
Yeah, of course, the words on the side of his cap there, Todo el Rojo, all in red for 2025 for Marc Marquez. Well, he's going to be one of
to try to follow the development with them and try to understand already what they've done and what the bike can give to you. So yeah, try to don't lose any action that I can lose.
Good to see you here. Hopefully we can chat to you more throughout the rest of the day.
For sure. Thank you. Ciao.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Fabio Di Gianantonio. Great to see him here in Barcelona. We are hoping, actually, to try and twist his good arm to see if he can come into the commentary box for a spell at some point this morning or later on this afternoon. That was a shot, wasn't it? The first shot of Marquez and Bagnaia alongside each other in that factory Ducati garage. A lot of world titles in that garage, a lot of egos as well to manage. Gigi Dall'Igna, I was just about to say, did a little bit of a media scrum with the press here yesterday in Barcelona. Of course, we know that Dall'Igna, the genius at Ducati Corsa, engineered probably the best ever Grand Prix motorcycle racer we've ever seen with that GP24 this year. It was a big evolution, a big step forward, wasn't it, compared to the improve over the winter. But it's very, very hard to make a case right now for seeing anybody laying a glove on Ducati again next year as it stands.
Well, I asked Davide Tardozzi on Thursday about the progress they made. There he is on screen chatting to Marc Marquez about how proud he was of this season, because they're essentially, well, so we thought, trying to improve on perfection coming into this year, because the GP23 itself was such a formidable package last year, but they have taken a quantum leap forward next year. If you were trying to make a case for why they might not be as dominant next season, well, there are a few factors that could potentially work against Ducati next season. The first of them we've already touched upon, potentially some political manoeuvring within their box to try and keep both Pecco Bagnaia and Marc Marquez happy. They will both be happy if they're winning and you feel nothing else. But of course, there are 2 fewer Ducatis on the grid next season, with Prima Pramac, of course, switching from Ducati to Yamaha. One of the big strengths of Ducati over the recent years has been the pooling of data that they've been able to do at the end of any given day of running, with 8 bikes out on track. That will reduce to 6 for next season, and from 4 current spec bikes, that will be of course the GP25 for next season, 4 down to 3. There will be 3 GP25s, Pecco Bagnaia, Marc Marquez.
There's a few lucky fans get some photos and autographs with Marc Marquez. Fabio Quartararo remaining in the factory Yamaha squad. Frankie Morbidelli staying on the Ducati but moving to VR46 Racing. Bastianini factory Ducati to Gas Tech 3. Ralph Fernandez staying put at Trackhouse Racing. Brad Binder stays put at Red Bull KTM. Somkat Chancha from Moto2 into LCR Honda. Joan Mir remaining at Repsol Honda. Pedro Acosta swapping one RC16 for another. He's going to be in the official factory KTM team.
Was here, he had to give his own press conference as well as the world champion, and was quite keen to get out of there and meet his family and celebrate his championship. Well, unfortunately, Jorge, as the world champion, your life is going to change.
It is red alert, red warning. Marc Marquez then in the bright red leathers of the factory Ducati team. Pretty much unbranded at the moment, isn't he, Marc Marquez? Todo al rojo. All in red was the message from the 8 times world champion yesterday. He came to Ducati to enjoy racing again. He came to Ducati to show the world that the old magic was still there. 4 podiums Marquez scored last year on what was an injury hit and turbulent farewell to Honda. The leap forward, incredible. 20 podiums he scored on the GP23 this year. He was the only GP23 that on a regular basis had anything for the sort of swarm of GP24s that were a constant presence at the front of races. You think of Martin Bagnaia and Bastianini. He's looking relaxed, isn't he? He's looking ready for the big occasion, as he comes also down to do a few media obligations as well, Marc Marquez.
Yeah, I think he's heading into the same room that we just saw Jorge Martin in, having some photographs taken for ourselves and for many broadcasters that are here. And Marc Marquez, of course, over so many years was the reason that Ducati were not winning world championships, and I think ultimately that was the reason why they could not let him go to another manufacturer. Ducati had fantastic motorcycles in 2017, 2018 and 2019 when they finished as the runners-up in the world championship with Andrea Dovizioso. The reason they didn't win the world championship was Marc Marquez, the best rider in the world at that point, was beating in many respects the best motorcycle in the world, and Ducati, just from their point of view, with all due respect to Jorge Martin, clearly could not allow Marc Marquez to go up against them on another motorcycle once again, having seen him from close up in 2024. Marc Marquez, of course, joining Gresini and riding a Ducati when, of course, we had that big beaming smile on his face at this test in Valencia last year. From that point on, Marc Marquez didn't want to be anything other than a Ducati, and Ducati did not want to see Marc Marquez leave them.
Not going to lie, I don't think there was a time I ever thought I would see Marc Marquez in the bright red of the factory Ducati team, when he was pretty much their biggest enemy, their biggest foe for so many years at HRC. But here he is, getting set to closely collaborate with Gigi Dall'Igna. It was Dall'Igna's own sort of curiosity, Dall'Igna's own fascination to work with the talents Marc Marquez, which won out. That's what won the day for Marquez. This was nothing. Dall'Igna said himself yesterday, it was nothing against the talents of Jorge Martin, nothing against what he could